Hey yo, folks! Hat Drop Wrestling here, and today we've got a brand new episode of Smackdown. So get comfy, hit that like button, and drop a comment. It really helps this young channel grow. Let's go! The show, of course, kicks off with CM Punk. After all, we're in his hometown of Chicago. First thing he does is grab a camera and film the best fans anyone could ever dream of. He says he wasn't even supposed to be here in the first place. When he was born, the umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck. But despite everything, here he is. He apologizes if he's not bringing in any new fans, but what matters most to him is showing appreciation to every single person who shows up to see him. He talks about how many times in his life he's been told he doesn't belong somewhere. He's heard it all, even that he doesn't belong in certain stores, and now, here he is, standing in a place he never even dreamed he'd be, the main event of WrestleMania. The crowd chants, "You deserve it," and Punk responds that he fought his way toward his dream. Along the way, people kept telling him he'd never make it, but hard work paid off. He thanks everyone for their support, and especially his beloved wife, April. Without the people around him, he wouldn't be where he is today. And that's why at Mania, he promises to kick both Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins' asses. Then he's interrupted by none other than Mr. Ladies and Gentlemen himself. Paul Heyman steps out, apologizing for the interruption, but still introduces the best in the world, CM Punk. The crowd starts chanting ECW, to which Punk replies that he can never really escape that chant. But tonight, it's time to talk about what Heyman can do for Punk. Heyman praises Punk, saying he deserves everything he's achieved. He talks about how hard it was for him when he got put through a table and missed more screen time than ever before, except for when he was fired. Back then, it was Punk who helped bring him back, even siding with Roman Reigns at Survivor Series. Now, Heyman says, he has a favor to ask of Punk. He asks Punk to finally reveal what that mysterious favor is, because Roman is starting to get pissed that it's still a secret. Heyman accidentally lets it slip that Reigns isn't here tonight, prompting Punk to fire back that when the big dog finally decides to show up, then Punk will reveal what the favor is. And now, the first match of the night. Out of nowhere, we've got Nathan Frazer, and his opponent is another main roster debutant, Rey Fenix. Both the crowd and I welcomed him with open arms. It gave off the same vibe as Penta's debut, like fresh young blood had entered the company. I'm not sure why they chose not to have him face Andrade, but honestly, I didn't mind it at all. There were a couple of moments where it looked like they got a little tangled up, but they recovered so smoothly that it was like nothing even happened. Always great to see that kind of professionalism. Of course, after hitting his signature Mexican muscle buster, the new luchador picked up the win. Congrats to him. After the match, he grabbed a mic and said that today wasn't the debut of Rey Fenix. Today was the rebirth of Rey Fenix. He's waited his whole life to say this. He's finally part of WWE. Backstage with Legado del Fantasma, Santos is thrilled and tells his guys that this is exactly the kind of performance he wants to see from them. Humberto says he's already better than Fenix, so Santos tells him he'll have to prove it in the ring. He says he's heading to Aldis right now to get the match made. Up next, we've got a match between LA Knight and Tama Tonga. The rivalry between the champ and this new version of the bloodline just won't die, and it's still unclear where it's all headed. Well, maybe not that unclear, since neither LA Knight nor Sikoa have a match set for Mania yet. And that title? It's looking way too tempting right now. Feels like the eventual opponent should be either Strowman or Fatu, but we'll get to that another time. As for the match itself, it was pretty much as classic as it gets. Nothing groundbreaking, but nothing bad either. Solid from top to bottom. So instead of nitpicking, I'll just remind you, we've got a Telegram channel where we post all the wrestling shows. We drop links in the description, so go check it out. Back to the match. Of course, LA Knight picked up the win with no real trouble. Backstage, Paul Heyman is asked how he's feeling. He doesn't understand why he should be telling anyone anything. He takes the camera and says it doesn't matter what the favor is. His answer is yes. Just then, a car pulls up behind him. Paul assumes it's the tribal chief finally arriving, but nope, it's Seth Rollins. Seth tells him he's looking rough lately, clearly under a lot of stress. Seth, on the other hand, is feeling great because at Mania, he finally gets to deal with the two biggest jerks around. He's also curious about the mystery favor and says he wants to be there when Roman finally shows up. Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton are in the ring for a little face-to-face talk. Wade Barrett kicks things off by asking Charlotte why she chose this particular champion for her WrestleMania match. Charlotte says she wants to show the entire world that Tiffany Stratton isn't nearly as good as she pretends to be. Tiffany fires back, saying that no matter how many opponents she's had, Charlotte has never faced anyone like Tiffy Time. Charlotte might be out here breaking records, but she'll always be second to Ric Flair. And at Mania, she's going to be second place again. She also takes a jab at Charlotte's past, saying that when Charlotte was 25, she was still trying to make it in basketball and living off daddy's money. Meanwhile, she, Tiffany Stratton, is already walking into WrestleMania as champion. So if Charlotte's a queen, she's just the queen of crap. And just to twist the knife, she adds that after Mania, Charlotte will be just as lonely as she is outside the ring, a clear shot at her recent split with Andrade. Finally, Tiffany ends it with, "What's the score now? 3-0?" A brutal reference to Charlotte's 3 failed marriages. With that, the champ struts off, leaving Charlotte fuming in the ring. Backstage, Nick Aldis announces that he has some big news. Next week, there will be a special gauntlet match featuring participants from both brands. The winners of that match will go on to challenge Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez for the Women's Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania. Up next, we've got a tag team match between the Motor City Machine Guns and the duo of Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. And it's not just any match. This one's for the #1 contendership for the tag titles. As we already know from their past encounters, these teams know each other incredibly well, and they always deliver high-caliber wrestling. This time was no different. Thankfully, they were given enough time to really show what they can do. They did just that. DIY tried to pull a fast one by exposing a turnbuckle, hoping to steal the win, but in a twist of karma, it backfired. Ciampa went face first into the steel and ended up getting pinned. Next up in the ring is B-Fab, and her opponent is none other than Naomi. But during Naomi's entrance, she's blindsided by Jade Cargill with a surprise attack. Naturally, that made the start of the match tough for Naomi, but she managed to recover quickly and scored a decisive victory without much trouble. After the match, Naomi grabs a mic and calls out Jade to face her like a real competitor. Jade rushes the ring from behind, looking for another sneak attack, but before she can land her signature move, security swarms the ring to break things up. That's when Nick Aldis comes out and says he has the perfect solution to their ongoing conflict: Naomi versus Jade Cargill at WrestleMania. Both women are more than ready for that showdown, and with that, we move on. Back in the ring, we've got Nick Aldis once again, and he's got something important to say. There's a reason they constantly remind everyone not to try what you see on TV at home. Please welcome Kevin Owens. KO comes out and says he's been doing this for 25 years. Every single time he steps into that ring, he gives it everything he's got. Wrestling has given him the opportunity to take care of himself and his family, but of course, there's always a price to pay. Many have sacrificed their health, and now it's his turn.
Thanks, my friend. It's time for me to speak. For the past 4 months, Owens has been dealing with neck issues, and this week, the test results confirmed. He'll need surgery. He says he's heartbroken that he won't get to face Randy Orton at WrestleMania. He doesn't know when he'll be back. He thanks everyone for their support and apologizes for how things turned out. Just as he's about to leave, Randy Orton's music hits. The crowd erupts as Orton walks out, and we get a tense face-to-face moment between the two. Despite the intensity, a solemn Kevin walks off, leaving Orton alone with Aldis in the ring. That's when Aldis drops another bombshell. Randy Orton is now also without a WrestleMania match. And just like that, RKO out of nowhere. Nick Aldis gets dropped, and the segment ends on that explosive note. Now that opens the door for some speculation. On one hand, this could all be a work. Maybe Owens is faking the injury storyline to build hype, and WWE fed the insiders a fake report. That match with Orton could still be on. But if it's legit, maybe the RKO to Aldis sets up Orton versus the GM himself, or maybe not. Either way, I really liked how this whole segment played out. It was dramatic, emotional, and it definitely got people talking. Now we move on to the main event of the show. Here we have two giants battling for the opportunity to fight for the US Championship. Jacob Fatu versus Braun Strowman. And of course, I always enjoy seeing these two behemoths collide in the ring. Braun, by the way, is undefeated in this type of match throughout his career, making him quite the formidable opponent. Naturally, the wrestlers didn't limit themselves to just the ring. They turned the whole arena into a battleground, even going through the crowd. And of course, we saw some real wrestling, as chairs were involved. From the start, I thought Fatu would win, but as the match progressed, I found myself thinking that this was actually anyone's game. No matter what moves the Giants pulled off, the match just wouldn't seem to end. It was a great addition to an otherwise regular Smackdown episode. In the end, I couldn't tell if it was the broadcast or my internet, but everything just went haywire. Regardless, the winner, of course, was Jacob Fatu. And of course, we have the main segment of the show. Roman Reigns finally arrives on Smackdown. He asks if Punk is still in the arena, if he's still asking about that favor. Reigns wants to share a secret with everyone. If it weren't for Reigns, Punk wouldn't have come back. He wouldn't have gotten the Mania main event if it weren't for Reigns. No matter how much he's considered the best in the world, he never would have achieved this. Not until the Tribal Chief came along. He invites Punk to the ring to find out what this favor from Heyman is all about. However, he's interrupted by the music of Seth Rollins. Seth doesn't know what the favor is, but he's certain it's something that will upset Reigns. He's not a fan of living in reality. He prefers his own world. Reigns' main mistake is that he doesn't see Punk as a problem, and that's why they're where they are. Seth says he should have finished with Roman in the cage one-on-one, but this is where they have ended up. Reigns has two options: give in to what's happening or build his little universe. Reigns, however, responds that none of this is true. Punk is in the Mania main event only because he promised Heyman that. He never called Seth to the ring. Rollins, though, says he's here for Punk as well. Finally, Punk arrives and doesn't keep anyone waiting for long. So what's the favor? It's about friendship. He recalls the times when Punk first arrived and they wanted to fire him, but Heyman stood up for him. When Paul left, Punk worried about his future, but Heyman told him everything would be fine. At that moment, Punk asked what he could do for him. Heyman said that once Punk made it to the Mania main event, he should have Paul right there with him. And now, no matter what dreams Reigns had, it's all falling apart. Punk says that the favor from Heyman is to be in his corner at Mania. He's his best friend, and Paul will be his tribal chief. Reigns laughs at this because Paul doesn't like him as he says. He really needs him. He asks Heyman to be gentler with his answer to Punk, but instead of a quick reply, Heyman starts crying. This really angers Reigns, and he demands Paul tell Punk no, but Paul replies, "No, my tribal chief, I can't do that." Seth is dying of laughter because Reigns didn't hear him. Roman tries to attack Heyman, but he's saved by Punk, who hits a GTS. Seth is satisfied with what he saw and decides not to continue the fight. The show ends with Punk celebrating in the ring. So that was this week's SmackDown. Leave your comments on the continuing road to WrestleMania, and we'll see you soon on Monday Night Raw. Bye for now.